Feel like
Woo woo! That's the spirit.
Light it up, pedal to the metal. We're gonna take it to a whole nother level tonight. Alright, a whole nother level. I don't know.
it's the day before my race simulation day in Kona, and I won't bore you to tears with every gram or milligram of sodium and carbs, but it's like a military operation over here. We've got bike fuel, hydration, there's some Gatorade in there. I've got run gels, extra sweets, carb mix, and this is spare stuff over here. And of course, I've got it all written out so I know what I did and what I might need to tweak. I had a phone call with Coach earlier in the week, and I wanted to add in a brick run, basically. I wanted to feel like a triathlete. I wanted to do some sort of race simulation. It would have always been the plan, in my opinion, prior to kind of picking up my little calf tear, that the reason of coming out here 2 weeks before the race was to at least do 1 or 2 quality sort of race prep sessions to have a look at where my heart rate is and all that sort of stuff on the bike and the run in particular. So added in a brick run. My suggestion was 2 by 20 minutes. Off a bike ride that we already planned to do. So the bike ride was 5 by 10 minutes riding to heart rate. My power meter has actually decided to stop working since being out here, which is a bit unusual. But the plan, the race plan, and it is for most Ironmans for me, to be honest, is to ride to a heart rate, and I normally have power as a reference point to know if I'm going too hard or not hard enough type thing, but keeping the heart rate in a consistent place. So rode out from the energy lab to Quai High basically, which took me about 90 minutes or so, turned around, and then the second 90 minutes I did my 5 by 10 minutes with 5 minutes in between, almost very similar to a session I did last week, which was 5 minutes on, 2.5 minutes off. So it was just an extension of that basically. Rode pretty well. It's really hard to know whether, you know, without power, whether I was riding well or not. The speed was definitely pretty good for parts of it. This course is it is fantastic and I do enjoy it, but there's just parts of it where you are absolutely flying, and then there's parts of it where you feel like you're riding into a brick wall, and not just because of the wind, just the way the road rolls. But yeah, seemed to be going reasonably well, and pretty happy with how I paced the bike in terms of the effort felt right, and fueled it really well. I think that I can definitely give myself top marks on. I went through 4 litres of fluid, 100 grams of carbs an hour, and yeah, it was all literally from the moment I was on the bike I was eating and drinking. It wasn't all like, oh, I've got an hour in and haven't eaten or drunk anything, I'll play catch up. So that went really well. Then met Amy back at the energy lab. She's my little superstar obviously, and she followed me on the bike, and I went for my 2 by 20 minutes run. That was tough. I had a really good run in the energy lab in 2019, and I had positive connotations of it. I try and think of it, I can't remember who said this, as somewhere that gives you energy rather than takes your energy. The first 20 minutes or the first 10 minutes went really well. I was running downhill and down into the energy lab, so slightly conscious that the pace would be a bit high, and I was trying to get my heart rate where I wanted it to be. But after 10 minutes, my heart rate was higher than it should or could be, and really struggled to get it back down without basically having to walk. The second 20 minutes, very similar. I ended up just biting the bullet and carrying on at the heart rate that was well above the prescribed. I did feel okay. Like I feel like the aid stations are so important, because you get every mile you get the opportunity to get some ice and cool yourself down. And even though we had some cold fluid and I had a little ice pack and stuff for the hour, it's not as much as I'd have on race day. And those little things I think make a difference, because it gives you something to focus on or kind of make yourself feel a bit cooler. So yeah, I did struggle more than I'd hoped to in that second 20 minutes. Feel like
Woo woo! That's the spirit.
10 more minutes. minutes of this suffering.
And we're gonna watch all of it.
Then bumped into Lars, one of my man crushes, fastest age grouper in the world, and ran my sort of 20-minute or so cool down, or 10 minutes or so with him, which is really cool. He'd only just got here a day or so ago, so he's just adjusting. And yeah, fueled and hydrated that as well as I could. I had 90 grams of carbs and probably about 500 to 700 millilitres of fluid with electrolytes. But yeah, just the cooling side of it is really difficult. I had my headband on. It's the first time I've run with that on, and obviously run outside with it. And generally I felt like it worked. I mean, it's not going to lower my core temperature, but it definitely felt cooler when I definitely had it on my skin and I put water on it. So yeah, positive on that perspective, just to, again, give you something to distract yourself and think, my head's cool, I'm cool, I'm in the Antarctic or something, would be my mantra, having my head. My core temperature did get to over 39 degrees. I'm not going to look at my core temperature consciously during the race, but that is the hottest it's ever been from measurements I've taken. I only got it to like 38.9 when I was doing my heat prep session. So yeah, I know that's the sort of limit, and going much higher than that, particularly early in the run, is definitely going to be potentially dangerous. But as I say, I'm not going to look at it. We did some analysis of my core temperature back in 2019, and I did keep it at a relatively good level, and I think I can trust myself. I know if I'm pushing too hard or going to have repercussions on that basis. So yeah, anyway, it's Saturday morning. I need to go out for a bike ride so I can get back and watch the men's race for Vegas.
Filming? No, I wasn't even filming.
Oh, the ground's hot.